So anyway, let's talk about Die Hard. Some crazy things happen on that show. So there's a scene in the film where a body is thrown out of like one of the windows from up high. And it comes falling down and ultimately crashes into the roof, the hood, and the windshield, going through the windshield, coming to rest inside the car. So that took a little bit of timing, a little bit of effort to have that look right. And when they were through, as was usual on the movie, they would do what they needed to do on the exterior and then move upstairs, interior, and go all night long. That was our shooting schedule, which often read, "To be determined." At any rate, we're clearing up the debris, getting ready to move the car. We get in, car is destroyed, but it starts. And so we thought, let's go drive it out on the street and see how it's actually doing, right? Because it's one thing to start a car, it's another thing to be able to move the car. We go out onto Century City streets, and we're driving around, and it strikes us that we should go down and just, make a left here, a right there, a left to the body, that kind of thing. And we see a Jack in the Box. And remember, that's right, that Jack in the Box is there and it's always open. Let's take the car through the drive-thru with the body on it. So me and my buddy Stanley, we drive down there and we pull into the parking lot and a meandering left, and now we're pulling up to the Clown's Mouth and ordering. And after we order, we slowly move around the corner onto the straightaway where the drive-through window is. And I slow way down now. I'm creeping because I really want to see this guy's face when we pull up there with a body on the front hood and in the windshield. So we pull up there and the guy's face is, I swear, it's like an 18-year-old kid doing a summer gig, right? But he's like, and you can see in his face, he doesn't know what to do. Should he call 911? Should he call his superior? Should he call the person from the cook from the back in case something's about to go down? Whatever happened to this guy, I don't want any part of it. Funny thing is, he hands us the food. We hand him the money. He looks at us again as we're slowly starting to pull away. And the most amazing part to me was he says and does nothing about it. It just is like something you might see every day. Only in Los Angeles. Alan Rickman was the guy who played Hans Gruber, the head of the terrorists, a really badass of all the badasses. So, Alan, I go and I introduce myself to everybody that's in that kind of strata where I might have to help them do something, get a car, outfit their trailer, their motorhome, whatever it may be, with food and drink. And I go and introduce myself to Alan and say, if there's something that you need, my name is Dean, and and he's like, yeah, I'm sorry, what? He said, Alan Rickman. Right. Well, you let me know if there's something I can do for you, otherwise I'll just stay out of your hair. Glad I'm here to help you. So I wander off and I'm thinking to myself, no way is this guy capable of playing Hans Gruber. Not going to happen. British or no British, I don't feel optimistic. We pick up Alan to do rehearsals and we take him back home and we get a message the next day saying, will you get him a car? He'd like to drive himself back and forth. Doesn't want to have somebody, stranger, pick him up. So I call the vendor and I order a car to be dropped off at his address. And about 3 hours later or so, I get a call from the producer saying, I thought we were dropping a car to Alan. Yes, we are. I thought by now it would have happened. Let me give them a call, see what happened. So I call the vendor. I think it's Budget. And I say, so what's happening with Alan Rickman's car? And they say, let me get the manager to tell you what's going on. Okay, unusual, but okay. Manager gets on. He says, let me tell you what happened with the car. And I'm ready for, like, it's had a flat tire, got a ticket, whatever, the usual list of excuses. So he says, I sent 2 guys, one driving the car for Alan and one following so that they can pick up driver A and bring them both back to Budget. Makes sense. So he says that they went up and rang Alan's doorbell and gave him the keys. And Alan says, would you mind sticking around a minute because I'm a little unfamiliar with the car. Alan comes from Britain. He drives cars that are right-hand drive. This is a left-hand drive. I'm sure he just wants to run through the particulars. So the manager goes on to tell me that Alan starts the car and puts it in drives and smashes into the wall in front of him. Whereupon he puts it in reverse and smashes into the brick wall behind him. And the 2 drivers from Budget say, Aldo, stop. We're done. We're not leaving the other car. So they get in the car and hightail it away from there. And the manager from Budget says, I'm sorry, I can't give you the car. It's too much liability. And I go and I tell the producer this story. And the producer says to me, look, put him back on the schedule for a driver in a car because I can't afford to kill Alan Rickman as part of him learning to drive. And so that's what we did. Now, Alan, I had still not seen do a lot since I thought no way he could do Hans Gruber. So I'm there on the first day. It's the scene where the truck back door goes up and out come all the terrorists in what's called the Flying Wedge, led by Alan Rickman at the front of it. He comes out, he's so effing believable. I can't believe it's the same guy. He was so fantastic. He was so professional and such a great actor. I just never thought that he would be able to play this with such enthusiasm. In that scene in the elevator, nice suit, which is a famous line that Gruber gives to him, the guy he's about to kill, is Alan Rickman at his best. That's him really delivering what he understood this character to be. Alan is also involved in one of the stunts in an offhand way. The stunt itself is the final sequences of the movie where Hans Gruber has his watch and, Bruce cuts him loose, lets him drop 17 stories to his death. The way it's filmed is there's an air mattress and Charlie Pacerni, God bless him, is doing the fall. And it's on a bit of a decelerator, so they can't blow away somewhere. And when they hit the air mattress, that intercuts with Hans being dead. The lead up to is him being looked at from Bruce's point of view from here. And the way they do that, they rig like a seat. That's looks like a wooden swing seat that they have a plunger and it opens the claws and down you go. So Alan is nervous about it, rightfully so. It's all the way to the top of the stage, and he has to, although he's on cables now, real ones, he still has to endure this moment where he's dropping like a fly. And what they decide to do, because Alan looks double nervous, is to tell him, we're going to do this on 3. And then they don't do it on 3, they do it on 2. So it gets him by surprise, and the face you see in that scene, that's supposed to be Bruce Willis's point of view, is Alan's real reaction to being dropped from the top of the stage. It's pretty funny, pretty amazing. The other half of this story with Alan and Charlie Pacherny dropping is my sister-in-law is dating my partner on the film named Jim. And the two of them are seeing each other almost every night, young love, right? So Lori is there, that's her name, Lori, and Jim is there, and we're all going to watch Charlie Pacherny drop 17 stories on a decelerator onto an airbag, going pretty fast, decelerator or no decelerator. So the camera is pitched from down this driveway that allows them to look up at the building, cutting out all of this that might interfere with the reality. So Jim, most of the crew, most of the assistant directors were all standing around looking at the video monitors. And I see Lori's car pulling up and parking. Danger, Will Robinson. So Lori is coming down toward the set where the camera is and where we are all watching on the video monitor. And I see her, and I get her attention. And I go, right, the universal stop where you are. So I thought she nodded and understood. The assistant directors are now all preoccupied with this huge stunt and everything that's lit and everything going on. And somehow they miss posting an assistant director at the edge of the driveway that would cross in front of the driveway. So now we all look up at, what is an amazing sight, and that's this building all lit up, ready to go for this shot. And we watch as Charlie comes falling down, hits the airbag, everybody claps. They couldn't be happier. Everybody's all made, great. And I look over, and Lori is now standing right beside me. And I thought, how did she? She's crossed in front of the camera line to get over to where we were. And I said to Jim, put her in your car and get her out of here, because this is going to get ugly. So the two of them leave. I'm sure Lori felt very badly, but the reality is we have yet to answer for this. And there's like a blah, 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 blah on the walkie-talkie, and I see Bo Marks, who's one of the producers. Who was that girl? And I said, she's with us. And he said, it's no good. Let's get everybody up here. They go and get the executive producer, the other producers. They're all, and the director, John McTiernan, they're all looking at the video playback. And you see Joel, the executive producer, he's hot-footing, which is, for Joel, that's a big deal. He doesn't hot-foot particularly well. So he gets up to us, and Joel's like, go ahead and roll. And they show him and everyone else the footage. And I kid you not, it's not a quarter of a second between when Charlie hits the airbag and Lori crosses, and then you see Bo going like this. Who is that girl? So Joel's like, it's no big deal. We got a beer. So he's happy, or not. I'm not fired anyway, yet. And John McTiernan comes over, and I like John. And I thought up until that moment John might have liked me. So he says, what was she doing here? And I said, she was here visiting friends, and I'm very sorry that it took place. And he goes, that's the fucking reason we don't allow any visitors on the set. And he thinks about it, he looks at me, he goes, fuck it. And he wanders off, and I thought, whew, I have lived another night. And that ultimately was on tape that I wish I could find to show you Bo walking like this in silhouette. One of the oddities that went on this show was that on the weekends, it was the only time that we could really destroy the place in the courtyard without it being an interference with what was the building trying to get tenants. So on Friday night, in would come an additional set dressing crew, and they would set up all of the broken helicopters, flaming this, that shot down, papers falling out, all of that stuff that you see in this footage that I shot myself on that set on a Saturday. And it became such a regular event that someone inevitably would come into work on a Saturday and Sunday and not know that all of this is just movie fun. And they would call 911 saying, something horrible has happened at Fox Plaza. There's helicopters and burning this and all, and right? What else could you do? So it became such a regular event that one Friday night when we were due to set off the most major explosion at the top of the building, we had thought that someone's going to call, and the camera crew, with Bo telling them what to do, sent up cameras to like the top of the Fox Plaza to get into position for what is Bruce's point of view of fire trucks coming up the street, and he's like, yes, come and get him, and he's doing a little bit of, ad-libbing, and the reverse of him seeing the fire trucks coming up and then turning off their lights. That was the actual camera crews that filmed the actual fire department that we knew would be called, and sure as hell they were called, and we got that film for free. Whee! In the movie, there is what looks like half a tank, and it's actually an Israeli troop carrier that we put like a thing that comes out of the front that the LAPD used to love to poke into people's walls, drop a plate. It would read, "Have a nice day" on the actual plate. They'd pull the wall out, and it amused them. So that's what we're filming. And I had made an agreement with the person who owned the Israeli troop carrier that nothing bad would happen. Yeah, okay, it's going to go up some stairs, it's going to put the nozzle through the wall. But all that stuff that, an Israeli troop carrier rather, would do without a problem. So, hidden away from the transportation department is the special effects department putting in loads of gasoline or whatever they were using that day, napalm. And Stanley, my partner, is filming his own version, not to be used in the movie, just like a high 8. And so we see the carrier go up the stairs into the glass doors, and boom, they blow the gasoline, and it just rocks the place in a giant explosion. as instant karma would do, who comes walking up the street? The owner of the Israeli troop carrier. And his face is like, it looked like the guy at Jack in the Box. He's like, you guys have destroyed my thing. We go and look at it. And the reality is, it's not destroyed at all. It burned some wiring. That was it. This was one tough beast. And we got away with it because of just having to rebuild it. So I go back to Joel and was really bemoaning that special effects did it. They didn't tell us, and a lot of money. It's going to cost to fix this thing, and I gave the guy my word, and now it's all blown up. We didn't know how good or bad it was just blown up. And Joel goes, Dean, that's why they invented money. I thought, that says it all about Joel. He was the king of ask for forgiveness, don't ask for permission. And that's kind of how it all went. The last story about Die Hard is this guy who was like a hangers-on with the catering crew. Would sometimes help them set up the tables and the chairs for lunch and that kind of thing. They'd feed him, give him $10. Happy days. Reagan, as in President Reagan, would often be in Century City, and we had rules we had to follow about if he was there and how to identify him, etc., etc. So this young Latino guy that would help set up the tables came into work that day drunk. And the caterer said, hitting the bricks, you can't be here drunk. Might hurt yourself or someone else. So as he's walking out to where his car is, he passes one of the trucks, and on the tailgate of the truck is a rubber AR-15. So he picks it up and takes off with it. Right? Not running, he just carries it off. And he goes up to the 2 or 3 stories where the parking structure is that overlooks where Reagan is staying. And as he's walking up to where his car is, he has an AR-15. And from the roof of Century Plaza, someone spots this guy, and they give the whamma jamma and up-pull 3 or 4 cars full of Secret Service. They jump out, manhandle this guy, rightfully so, he's got an AR-15, and give him a little tweaking and arrest him. And later I found out from the location manager, whose jurisdiction it fell under, that he not only spent that night in jail, they had trouble bonding him out, spent like 4 nights in jail. The location manager was called in to testify, and the guy was convicted because it was oriented around Reagan, that they couldn't allow some kind of misunderstanding to not be prosecuted. And so making the papers and all the trade papers and all the rest is this poor dude whose only real offense was drinking and stealing an AR-15 and going toward where Reagan was staying. Thanks.